How do you take your S-Log3 flat footage, convert it to Rec 709, do your quick correction, and get your finalized look? All right, let's jump straight into Premiere. Thanks for joining. This is Stein KB Owusu with L4C Multimedia. Welcome to Color Grading Made Easy Beginner's Guide. This is going to be session 8. Let's dive straight into Premiere and get to work. All right, so in Premiere, I'm going to go ahead and just delete everything I've done. Okay, so for the color grading process, I'm going to bring my first layer for my conversion. Okay, let's start from there. We're going to bring my lumetri color. We can use our scopes to monitor. Okay, so for the purpose of this lesson, I can choose to use my Sony conversion or my battery LUT conversion. Okay, I'm going to do my battery LUT conversion with a +1 contrast. So that'll be for my conversion layer. Then I'm going to go to my correction layer. And for my correction layer, what I'll do, I'll pick a shot that I like. Okay, maybe there. Okay, first things first, can work on my white balance, maybe pick this area. Bring up my shadows a little bit. Not too much, just let's say 30. Okay. For my highlights, take it down a little bit. Okay, -20 maybe. And my contrast, add a little bit of contrast. Okay, for my curves, yes, for my shadows, okay, I gotta get this point. Come on. All right, there we go. All right, and for my highlights, can go ahead and increase that a little bit. All right, great. So without and width. Okay, cool. And a couple colors in the image I can boost. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, great. Couple colors that I want to boost there. And that is it. I don't want to use my HSL secondary for the face for the sake of time. I'm just going to keep it like this. Of course, you could do your color wheels, you know, your shadows. If you wanted to help it a little bit, you can lift it a little bit. Get it towards, you know, get it towards more of a neutral feel. And then for the midtones, we can maybe cool it down. Well, you gotta be careful with that. Okay, so take it up in between, kind of like the pink and the red a little bit. We can probably bring this down for the shadows. Okay, great. And we can tone down the midtones a little bit. All right, so without and width, without width. All right, great. So that'll be it for the correction. Then we can add our fourth layer will be our creative. So we can just put it on the fourth layer. Okay. So we can go to our creative, pick one that we like, battery LUT, new creative one should do. All right, it will look messy. However, you can take it down, maybe a 20, 40, 30. Try it, see what works for you. Okay, so I think I'm going to do a 30 for this. Okay, and we can tone down a little bit, 95. So that's the saturation that I took down. Okay, so then we can work on our sharpen. I think it's fine. We can work on our sharpen. That's going to be layer 3, right? So we can basically go to our effects, throw on our sharpen and unsharp mask. Okay, can zoom in a little bit. Okay, so for our unsharp, we can set it to maybe an 80. Our radius, we can set it to maybe a 3. And we're gonna leave the threshold alone. And then for our sharpen, we can set it to maybe a 10. All right, subtle changes, nothing drastic. Cool. So basically, that is it. And for our final layer, we can add our fades if we need to. We can do a whole timeline, or we can simply just do the end. Doesn't really matter. So that's Shift D that I used. Okay, great. And we have something like so. Okay, so we went from our log footage that looks something like that. Okay, that's our log footage. Then we decided to convert to Rec 709 with this. Okay, then we added our correction. Okay, all right, the color balance can get some work, but for now we just want to get going with something basic. And then our creative look will give us something like so. All right, and that's what gets us the look that we are looking for. Okay, of course you can do some minor adjustments. For example, if you wanted to go into the correction, you can decide, hey, this is a little too cool, let me get it on the warmer side, and kind of mess with all that. Okay, so for example, in your basic correction, since it may look a little cool to you, you can get it a bit warmer. Okay, all right, and maybe not too warm, so you got to be careful with it. Okay, and move away from let's see, no, yeah, let's move away a little bit. All right, great. So when we mess with it, we can get a look like so, if that's what we want. Okay, and of course, if you feel it's too strong, you could go ahead and go inside your correction and perhaps take the contract back to 0 for more of a neutral feel. And then your creative, you could tone it down a little bit by going to 20, and then taking the 95 to maybe a 90 or 85 or 80, and that'll kind of tone it down a little bit. Okay, so once you're happy with your look, that'll be your final work. So you basically go from your log footage, okay, to your converted footage, Rec 709, to your correction. Right, so it's not the best, but at least it gives you an idea. And then to your creative. Okay, now I guess you're done. And then of course, once you render it, your image will look very nice once you're done. Okay, and that's pretty much all you need to do. Okay, now if you say all this is confusing and you want a simple workflow, you can simply throw on an adjustment layer and use something like Phantom LUT, which they kind of bake everything into one. So you can just go ahead, go to your creative, and then just drop on your phantom LUT and just go ahead and do neutral. All right, if you don't like the neutral look, you can try the neutral legacy and see how it feels like. All right, if you like prefer that look, but I think neutral should be good. All right, and then at this point, once you have that, you can just go in, bring up your shadows. Okay, let's see. All right, go ahead and bring up your shadows, add some contrast. Okay, and then maybe your highlights you can bring down. Okay, and with a couple minor adjustments, you have a good image. Okay, without having to do a whole bunch of work. Okay, so you see, we simply had our log, and within a couple of clicks, we have something usable. Okay, so it all depends on what you want to achieve. Okay, all right. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is just a quick tutorial on color grading. I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope you are enjoying this series. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for joining, and happy color grading.
Thanks for watching.